Let me know when you want to start recording, Tim.
We're good to go, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the October episode of Techbiz. And it's always a pleasure to be with every one of us every last Thursday of a new month, where we get to a large extent, discuss about the business of technology. I mean, what's the business behind technology? And that's why we talk about the Techbiz series. Techbiz series happens to be one of the ways in which Eco Innovation Center, one of the foremost innovation hubs in the city of Lagos, but of course, working across Africa, seeks to provide the necessary support and handholding for startups who work in this environment. And Eco Innovation Center, located at 50 Awolowo Road, looks at some basic sectors and basically it's areas that have to do a lot more with civic tech. Those are the areas in which we're focused, such that public sector innovation seems to be a place where we think there's an opportunity and to create shared prosperity for all. And today, again, I'm back as a host of Techbiz to bring you the 114th episode. And again, when I see these episodes, I get excited because 114 episode back to back, and 114 different speakers, 114 subject matter experts have graced this platform over the years. And the team has been consistent in delivering this. And I want to welcome you to this, where today, again, we have a subject matter expert who will be talking to us about product strategy for tech startups from concept to execution. When you check the 113 episodes, which again, it's on our site, all you have to do is go to www.forward/webinar. You will find the 113 episodes that we've had taken by different subject matter experts, things around business model canvas, how to build your teams, how to protect your intellectual property, how to scale your products, and all that. You will find out that there's enough resource that will provide that support and handholding, because I tell people much more than the money, what the African startup needs is people to help them handhold and help them navigate the headwinds that we're finding here. So you find these resources in there. I do encourage you to go there, watch the videos. And should you have a question, is there something somebody had said you want to clarify, you need some help? We also have a community of about 3,000 startup founders, tech enthusiasts, which is the Tech Big Nation. My colleague also will be dropping the link in the chat room. I mean, use that link, join that group. In there, you find myself and so many other subject matter experts where we can provide the rest support for you, so you don't have to wait until another Techbiz session on the last Thursday of another month before you are able to ask your questions, get clarity, get the right support on these very tortuous and lonely journey of building a startup in this part of the world filled with institutional voids. Okay, and we have all the support for you. And I'm very, very excited that that you're able to join us today and do and I do appreciate that. And today, like I said, we'll be talking about mastering product strategy, which is crucial for tech startups. Yeah, it ensures that we achieve what most experts talk about, what is called a product market fit. Because again, without that, you're not able to scale your product, you're unable to build the right product for the market. And if you don't have a well-defined strategies, you can easily lose focus. You can overbuild, which we've seen. And there's some people that can build an MVP and you're fixated in an MVP for the next 10 years, and you're just creating new iterations of MVPs. Okay. So this session will guide founders through the key stage of product development, from ideation to market execution, helping you design offerings that not only meet demand but also scale efficiently. For any startup, understanding these principles is vital for a long-term growth and success, and that's what we'll be looking at. And like I said, we always have subject matter experts which have been a part of this over the years. And again, today I bring to us an expert in product strategy and leadership. He's got over 2 decades of experience in working in this part. He's founded Red Collar Digital Labs, which he coaches leaders and teams on product management and digital transformation. And I think that's where the innovation sits in the ecosystem. Okay, if you're not able to understand the product, understand the consumer, understand what the expectations are, you continue to build things that nobody just gets to use. Okay, it just sits on the shelf. He's also the co-founder of Product Leadership Accelerator, PLA, with a mission to nurture Africa's next generation of product leaders. If there's something that frustrates me, which I mean, again, made me in the last 6, 7 years to Critical Innovation Center, where we're trying to make sure people do things that are fixated in this market, is the fact that most people are building products for people outside of our market. And nobody's going to come and build things for us in our market. Nobody's going to come to help us solve our issues. And so I'm excited that we have somebody who understands how to nurture, because if we do not have this next generation product leaders who build things that contemporary, that work for us, that solve African problems, we'll continue to build for the Silicon Valley guys, okay? And that's what excited us about him. He's also had leadership roles in different organizations, global firms, Sony Music, Time Warner, CNN, and AT&T. So he's moved from media to media tech to telecom, and it gives him a rich background in developing products that resonate globally. He's passionate about innovation and product discovery, make him the perfect guy for today's session, where our focus is around mastering products strategies for tech startups, and that's big. So, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, welcome to the platform. We're streaming across all the platforms. The Zoom again is restricted to those who are in the ecosystem. So thank you very much for accepting to be on this platform, Mr. Chidi Afuleze. Thank you so much, and you're welcome.
Thank you, Victor. Great intro, and it's my pleasure to be here. I was in Lagos 2 weeks ago. We did the Inspire Africa Product Management Conference.
You're part of that. No, that's great.
Right. So it was good to be around the community, and the conference is going to Kigali, Rwanda next year. So I hope folks will be there. Founders, product people, please, I beg. We need folks to, because we're trying to build this product community, African product community, right?
Thank you. That's the mission. And that's where we can really transform Africa. And we need to stop building for colonial masters and building for, it shouldn't just be about the money. It's about solving problems in here and making sure that we dimension our problems and build to solve that. And that's why we're excited about your mission and what you're doing.
100%. Thank you. So if you don't mind, I'm going to put my presentation on the screen. I hope this works. It worked before we started talking. You know how every plan goes to hell once you try to implement the plan. So let's see how it
This will go perfectly. Have fun.
Okay, so please let me know if everyone can see this. Can we all see this?
Yes, we do see on menti.com. Yes, we do see it.
Okay, so let me leave this on the screen for about 20 seconds. For those of you who are on Zoom or any other platform, you can use this Menti to follow through and to follow the slides. So you'll have the slides on your device or on your computer. You can use a QR code to also get to the Menti. So I'll leave this for another 10 seconds and then we'll get moving. All right. So again, thank you, Victor, for not only inviting me to this, but also for giving me the opportunity to speak to this community, which is a very important community, not only in Nigeria, but also on the continent. And this conversation is a very important one. And I wanted to kind of start with, I wanted to start by introducing myself very quickly. And I use this picture. I explain to people why I use this picture. There's one of the big founders, one of the big entrepreneurs that has come out in the last decade in Africa. His name is Fred Swaneker. And Fred Swaneker is the founder of SAN Technologies, Africa Leadership Group, which includes the African Leadership University, ALX, the Room, Africa Leadership Network. And so I was doing a presentation after him. And when he was doing his presentation, he put his kid picture on the screen. And, I'm like, why is this guy, he puts the picture up there and everybody's in love with Fred and says, oh, Fred, such a cute picture. So I was supposed to go after this guy. He's already a big dog. He's already doing all these big things. And now I have to come after him with his child's picture, his kid picture. So I wrote a WhatsApp, very quick WhatsApp to my sister. I said, I beg, please, where is that picture of me on my motorcycle when I was a little boy? She sent it to me and I put it in there because I didn't want to lose any attention just because of what Fred had done. So that's me. as a little kid. My name is Chidi Afolazi. I am a girl dad. I like to explain myself as a girl dad because I have three girls, and these are women, young women that I anticipate will become, big time tech players, big time product people. And that's also part of my mission is, as much as I do this work, I'm also on a mission to make sure we see more women in my world, in the product world, in the tech world. I am an entrepreneur. I do product. That means that I'm all about solving problems. You can see I'm a problem child on this screen. That means that problems are central to my work. And you'll see why as we go along. I'm also a creative. I've worked in the creative industry. My main mission when I was coming up was to be a music producer, and I did work in the music industry, and I did work with some artists back in the day. But now my creativity is more so in the product world, but also in building ecosystems for the creative in Africa. And then finally, I like to describe myself as a Ronin. If this was a live experience in front of people, I'll ask, what do you think is a Ronin? And a Ronin is a samurai that doesn't have a master. And what that means is a samurai that doesn't have a master allows me, as a free agent, as a Ronin, I'm able to move in different environments. It doesn't matter the altitude. It could be as high as a CEO or as low as a student in school. And it allows me to say what I need to say. I am not beholden to anyone. And that gives me the platform to speak freely, but to speak candidly about the work that we're doing out here. And I love being in this ecosystem. So thank you for having me and for listening to me. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the group a question. So if you're a mentee, I hope that we have enough people to get some votes. But I want to ask you to vote on this, right? So you can see that thing at the bottom that gives you the opportunity to click. What is the most important element in a product strategy? That's what I want to ask people. And you notice I didn't ask what is product strategy, because it'd be very easy for me to ask that question. No, I'm assuming that you think you know what product strategy is. So what is the most important element in the product strategy? So I see 2 votes. I hope we can get some more. I won't spend too much time here. So we have first, it's about cutting edge technology. The other answer is large. If you have a big budget. Another important element is that you have a clear vision and objectives or competitive analysis. So for the only 2 people on this call who are following my slides and who are paying attention to the mentee, they selected clear vision and objectives. Okay, and that is, excuse me, and that is the answer. That is absolutely what we are looking for. The thing about product strategy is about what your vision looks like. How is the world going to look if you solve this problem that you've identified? And what are the objectives that will drive your team or to drive you, right, towards that particular vision? So those elements drive the way the world will look if you do solve that problem, if you attack that problem and solve it. Okay. So that's the first question I wanted to ask. So I do have another question. I hope we can get more votes here. So why is having a clear product strategy crucial for a product team? Is it because it eliminates the need for customer feedback? Is it because it guarantees immediate success? Is it that it provides direction and focus on solving the right problems? Or is it that it gives the company a competitive edge? So I have one response. I have 2 responses, 3 responses. Okay, so let me give maybe another 10 seconds, see if we can get some more interaction. I put a lot of time into this mentee, so I was hoping to get at least 700 responses. But if it's 3 that we have, then it's 3 that we have. Okay. All right, so the three responses focused on it provides direction and focus for solving the right problems, and that's the right answer, right? We want to make sure that we are really understanding the problems that we want to solve as a company, as a startup, but not only that, you want to make sure teams are aligned around those problems, because many times you'll see teams that actually don't really align around the problems that they want to solve. So a clear product strategy is crucial because it really makes sure that everybody is on the same train, headed in the same direction to attack the problems that they have identified that is worth solving. Okay. All right. Okay. So the Menti code, okay, you know what? Let me do that. I'll click. Let me put the participation link. I'll put it in here. So that's the Menti, and then the Menti code is Menti code is 81662334. And I've put the Menti code in there, and I've also put the link if you want to follow the slides. All right. Okay. So I don't know if this will work because we're looking for more responses, but let's do a word cloud for you in one word. What happens when a product team lacks a clear strategy? What happens to that team? So you can just type in one word. What would that word be when a team does not have a clear product strategy? So we'll give it about 10 seconds, excuse me. And if we don't have any responses, that's okay. We'll move forward and discuss it as we go along. No focus. That's a good one. Do we have a couple more? Maybe 3 more, 4, 5 more? Chaos. I like that one. Chaos. Another one? One more. Okay. Lack of clarity. Okay. I mean, folks are on point and on top of this. So what happens when a product team lacks a clear strategy? You can see that there were some really great responses prior to this. Oh, excuse me. There's confusion, right? You saw chaos. You saw lack of clarity, lack of focus, right? There's waste, inefficiencies, ineffectiveness. Ineffectiveness means that you're going in the wrong direction. Inefficiencies, you're doing the wrong things, right? And so there's misalignment. And so it is important for us to understand that product strategy is key. I don't care if you're a small startup or if you're an established, you could be Paystack right now. If Paystack doesn't have a good product strategy, they are in serious trouble. And that's not something you should worry about with Paystack right now because they have a great product strategy. Okay. And so at the top, let me kind of do something for you. I'm going to take this from the top down to the bottom. When you have a company vision, you're a startup, you've made a company vision. Our vision is that every person in Africa will be able to have access to their funds within 10 seconds of them looking for that access, no matter what. That's your vision. No matter where I am, no matter how I'm rolling, they have 10 seconds, they have instant access to their funds, no matter where those funds are sitting. That's a vision, right? But then the product vision comes from that. And you notice portfolio vision. I will explain that a little bit more. But company vision drives the product vision. That's where the product strategy comes from. So when we talk about company vision, why does your startup exist today? Where are we playing? Right? For those of us in Nigeria, why is our team, our football team, the Eagles, Super Eagles, where are they playing? Where are they playing? Are they playing at the World Cup or are they playing at the local games that are happening in Owerri? Where are we playing? Where do we want to play? Where should we be playing? It is so important to ask this question because many times you ask startup founders, where are you playing? And they couldn't really tell you. All they'll tell you is something like, well, we're a fintech company. What does that mean? We are doing climate tech. That doesn't mean anything. Why do you exist? Why did you start? Then the question then becomes, okay, we exist. How do we win our market? How do we become the top player, the big dog in that market? And in order to do that, what capabilities, what resources, what systems and processes do we need to have in place? Now, some of you will say, oh, this is for big companies, Chidi. No, it's not for big companies. especially in this day and age where we have all kinds of platforms and technology available to our startups. You should be able to answer these questions. What, is it AI? Do you need to have an AI platform that allows you to do some things? What kind of model are you going to bring into your organization, even if it's just three of you, just three, in order to win this game that you said you want to play? Right? So then let me go to portfolio vision very quickly. This is for, let's say, like a pay stack, or for some of the more established startups, what we call scale ups. The reason I bring this up is after a while, and that should be your vision as a startup, at some point, you're going to have a mix of products, right? You're going to start to now address either different customer sets, or you're going to start to address subsets of customers. So what does that look like? Just this is something for you to aspire to, okay? What does it look like? You have a product line, and that product line is one product, another product. What kind of investments do you make? What kind of people do you have? What kind of time and return are you looking for? So Money Point, right? Money Point just became the latest unicorn, right? We celebrate Money Point, but we still need to see, okay, what kind of a portfolio vision are they going to use that $100 million that they raised to build, right? Because it's not just one product anymore. Now they have to now start building something really impactful. So that's where the portfolio vision becomes very key to what they're doing here, right? So this is something that's aspirational for most startups, but then there's startups that are also at a place where they're starting to scale, and scale now starts to bring into the conversation, what is your portfolio strategy, okay? Now, this is our bread and butter. This is for us now, the startups on this call. For those of us who are now addressing markets, this is where product strategy comes in. So you have that product vision. The product vision comes, in many cases, is your company vision, because you are a startup today. And your startup vision is your product vision right now. As you start to grow, the product vision starts to coalesce around the different products that you have and the different markets that you're addressing. But let's just say that you have a product vision. We see a world where customers can get access to their funds instantly without any problems, no matter where those funds are. If we use that as an example, yeah? What problems do our customers have? That's one of the number one questions you have to ask. Which one of those problems needs to be solved the most? Again, problems. I'm going to keep harping on this problem thing, right? Because it's not about solutions, it's about problems. And then once you're able to say, oh yeah, strategically, we know what problems we want to solve, then now we start asking the question of, how do we now discover what solutions will solve those problems? That's your product strategy. Your product strategy is, these are the problems we've determined we want to solve, and these are the ways we have determined we want to solve those problems. If you can't answer this question when somebody asks you what is going on with your company, then you can forget it. And part of that solution conversation then becomes, what is the right feature mix? What kind of benefits do we want our customers to derive from the products that we're building for them? How do we build these features? And how do we know that we are successful? How do we measure success? Okay. Another way of looking at product strategy also is, how do you actually delight your customers today? Think about products that delight you. I like to talk about WhatsApp. You would think that WhatsApp is just a utility now. I can call people, I can text people. But that product continues to excite and delight me as a customer. And I know I'm not the only one. Why? Because even when somebody that I haven't seen in a long time actually reaches out to me and is able to communicate with me through WhatsApp, it's a very exciting thing, right? When opportunities come through WhatsApp, opportunities that I know wouldn't have come through other platforms, they excite me. Even as a business owner, I have a business WhatsApp. Now they are exciting me as a business customer. How do we continue to delight our customers, right? And then what are the delight aspects that we're going to use in the future, right? To make sure that our customers stay delighted. Okay. Another really great example of delighting your customer is when you travel to certain countries And the process of getting into those countries is so seamless. You go to Zambia, within 5 minutes, you've passed through customs. You go to Rwanda, same thing. That's a delight your customer. Think about it. That's a public sector product. They have a product strategy that says we must delight the folks who are coming through our country. We cannot give them any wahala. The other aspect of this is, okay, now, how do we make sure that when somebody decides to come into our market, look, I'm going to give our market, the Niger market, some wahala. The fact is, we're creating too many fintechs. Now that these guys, MoneyPoint has raised $100 million, I don't think the fintech gold rush is ever going to stop. But what's happening is it's starting to get harder and harder to create a hard to copy advantage. So the question then becomes, what is that? How do you make it hard for competition to come after you? How do you make it hard for competition to come in and try and steal your thunder? That is part of your product strategy. And then, of course, you have to make money. You have to create value not only for the customer, but you're creating value for the company. And I don't want it to be about you're creating value for your investor, because that's a very different mindset. Creating value for the investor as opposed to creating value for the organization by creating value for the market. Yeah. And then, after you do all this stuff, then you now have to say, okay, we know what our delighters are going to be. We know what that hard to copy aspect of our business is, or advantage, is, and what kind of business models are we creating. So now you have a hypothesis that you're going to run with for the next 2 years or 3 years and say, that's the strategy that we're going with. So this is a good way to think about product strategy. Okay. So having said all of that, and I'm going to move to the next slide, I think it is important to understand, okay, if you have a product strategy that has identified, okay, these are the problems that we want to solve, these are the markets that we want to address, this is how we're going to attack those markets. Or if you want to use the second example that I use, which is, what are the delighters? How are we delighting our customers? How are we delighting our markets? How are we making sure that we have something that is very difficult? In this day and age, this is difficult, or this is very difficult. But how do we find a way to separate ourselves, create what they call moats? You hear this a lot, moats. What is the hard to copy advantage? And then finally, how do we create value for our customers and for our business? How do we make sure that there's value creation? I want to get a little bit into product market fit. And in doing that, I'm going to show this video. So if you don't mind, I am going to share my screen. This video was supposed to play, but okay. So let me stop this and share my screen, and I'll come back in a second. Share screen. Okay. All right, here we go. So please give me a thumbs up. Oops. Give me a thumbs up if you can see this.
Then I thought it is not good to depend a girl. Then I decide why not try sanitary pad myself. All is happened. So to impress my small kid. So like that one day I saw she is carrying something behind her. The purpose is to hide me something. When I asked what is it, she replied instantly like slapping on the cheek. It's none of your business. I thought that she's playing very seriously. I ran away behind her. See what is she is hiding.
Oh, the screen is frozen. Okay, sorry.
Then
1 second.
I imagine that.
Give me a second. The screen was frozen, so I'm going to redo it again. It's a 5-minute video, so we are in good shape. I'll share my screen again.
Then I thought it is not good to depend the girl. Then I decide why not try sanitary pad myself. It has always happened on my early marriage days. So to impress my new wife, what I do, I used to offer a small gift. So like that one day I saw she is carrying something behind her. The purpose is to hide me something. Then I asked, what is it? She replied instantly like slapping on my cheek. This is none of your business. Then I thought that she is playing very seriously. I ran away behind her to see what is she is hiding. On particular day I saw a nasty rag cloth with few blood stain here and there on the cloth. Then I understand she is adopting an unhygienic method to manage her period days. So first I did it very simple. I bought the cotton web in rolls and cut it into rectangle. I made sanitary towel in 2 days. What like same what I buy from the shop. I thought I succeeded in 45 days. I got a feedback that is very bad. She told I am going back my rag cloth using method. What you did is useless. She told. That makes me to get into research to further. I try to use a different milk cotton, making sanitary towel. Only the problem, every time I am making a napkin with a different milk and hand overing to my wife, waiting for 1 month time is a time taking process. Then I can decide where can I go for uterus. What I did, I made an artificial uterus in a small bladder, a rubber bladder. Then I filled animal blood in it. There is a tube connection to the sanitary pad which I wore, and I tied here with an elastic. While I'm walking and cycling, I made a small press. A dosage of blood will go there. So you know that blood, it will give a foul smell in 20 minutes around me. And there is a blood stain also in my cloth. So that's why something is happening around me. I never realized.
விட்டுட்டாரு நினச்சி நல்லா இருக்கும்னு வந்தேன். மறுபடியும் அவர் அதே தான் கண்டுபிடிப்பேன்னு சொல்லி மும்முரமாக இருந்தார். கண்டுபிடிச்சும் வந்துட்டார். அதனால ஒன்றும் தெரியலைங்க.
Then she never come back. On 20th day I got a divorce notice. That's the first chocolate I got for my research. In 4.5 years, I made 3 machines. What the big $1 million plant making in 3 machines. Now any uneducated woman can make a world-class sanitary pad. Already established. That's why this is called a silent peak revolution, and that's why this is called beyond marketing. Thank you very much. Bye.
முதல்ல தூர்தர்ஷனில் பார்த்தேங்க, பேசிகிட்டு இருந்தார், பேட்டி கொடுத்துருந்தாரு. அப்புறம் புக்கில், பேப்பரில் எல்லாத்துலேயும் வந்திருந்தார். அப்புறம் ஒரு மேகசினில் அவர் ஃபோன் நம்பர் இருந்துச்சுங்க, அதை வச்சு அவர் கூப்பிட்டு காண்டாக்ட் பண்ணேன். ஒரு 4-5 வாட்டி கூப்பிட்டதுக்கப்புறம் அவர் பேசினார். பேசினதுக்கப்புறம் ஒன்று சேர்ந்துட்டோம்.
So wherever I fly, I will come down to earth. This is the place.
I'm speaking and I was muted. Excuse me. So I wanted to kind of give an indication that that's one of my favorite videos when it comes to this aspect of problem solving as part of your product strategy. What problem are you solving, right? And I really love this video. I also love when I do this in person how people react to the fact that his wife left him when he was doing discovery, and then she came back after 5 years of him, showing that his discovery work was worth it, right? Please, I beg, I hope nobody has to get divorced or lose their family member, because of the kind of discovery work you're doing. But you have to do discovery. That's part of strategy, right? So let me get back to the slides so we can talk very quickly about this, and then Victor and I can get into some Q&A. So I'll go forward. All right. So one of the things I wanted to speak to was when we talk about product strategy, we talk about product market fit. You want to get to a place to product market fit. And product market fit is when you've identified a weekend problem. So, he identified that the issue wasn't that women were having their periods. That's not even the issue. The issue is not even that they were taking, because they have a way of taking care of their periods. The issue, the weekend problem, was that the impact that the lack of clean, hygienic products for women was having in the community. Girls not going to school during the period days, the smells, and all. So he handled that problem really well, right? And he made sure that, oh, you know what? I've gotten myself a market, and this is something I can sell to. So when you have a weekend problem, and you're able to also identify a critical mass of people who have that problem, and then you have a viable solution, you have product market fit. And we talk about product market fit and traction. What I mean by that is the train is on the track. The train is on the track. I saw somebody write, that's problem solution fit. Think about it. Product as solution, same thing, right? What is a product? A product is a solution to a problem that is had by a critical mass of people, right? So when you have product market fit, it means that you have traction. The train is on the tracks. It has a direction. It has found its tracks, right? But it doesn't mean that everything is fine or not. That's not what it means, because now the train has to move. And now the train now has to start picking up passengers as it's moving. That's when you start growing, right? You start finding your path. There are different directions that you can go in. But to find product market fit, weekend problem, you have to have a critical mass of users, a big market, and you have to have a solution that's viable. Now you have traction, right? And in doing that, what you saw in the video was this individual now doing discovery. And it's important for you to understand when you are doing discovery. Discovery is when you are talking to the customer. That's customer discovery. Understanding the problem. That's problem discovery. And critically, solution discovery. Prototyping, assumption mapping, MVP 1, MVP 2. That's all part of discovery. Delivery is when you're at a place where your product starts to hit the market. You're releasing that to the market and you are letting it go. It's like your baby is no longer a baby. Your baby is now out there going to school, meeting other people, showing that it can be a viable part of the market. Okay? So that's discovery versus delivery. And when you're doing continuous discovery, it means that you're constantly in touch. Part of your product strategy has to understand how you are constantly in touch with the market so that you are clear that you're still addressing the problem that you want to address, that you still have the market that is important for you to address, and that your solution is still working. Because when you pivot, what are the 3 things you can pivot on? When you go and do your discovery and you discover that you're not doing well, you could discover that your problem is not the right one. You could discover that the market that you're working on is not the right one. Or you can discover that your solution, which is what mostly happens, is not the right one. If all of those exist, you're in trouble. So you use continuous discovery to continuously understand whether you're doing the right things, whether you have those 3 things in place. And if any of them is not in place, you need to make the adjustment. Okay? This is my mantra. I don't argue with any. If people want to argue with me about this, they can go and argue with themselves, because this is very clear to me. In my experience in working with product leaders and working with product CEOs, startup founders, everything I've done in my life has made it very clear to me that you fall in love with the problem, not the solution. If you go to a doctor and you're sick, you go to the doctor, what does the doctor say? Does the doctor say, first thing, oh, some Panadol or some antibiotics, right? Because the solution. Or what do? Do they not ask you questions? Do they not test? And, there's some assumptions that they make, but they need to make sure those assumptions are validated or invalidated, right? That's falling in love with the problem, not the solution. And that's the danger with AI. AI has a lot of people falling in love with the solution, not the problem. AI is enabling us to solve problems faster. AI is allowing us to understand problems, to understand all kinds of situations faster. But it is not, it is a solution. The problems are still the problems. At the end of the day, AI is going to help us do a lot of incredible things, but the problems are still the problems. And you need to fall in love with those problems, right? The other part of the conversation is, just because you think you've identified the problem doesn't mean that's it. You need to figure out other ways of reframing the problem. There are companies that are pivoted because they reframed the problem. They looked outside of the box that they were in, and they looked at it differently and said, how do you reframe this problem? So let me give you a really great example, which is the pivot that Instagram, all of us know Instagram, the pivot that they made. When they started, Instagram was a company that was doing what you call check-ins, like back in the day, where if you're at the airports, in Lagos, you check in and you say, oh, I'm at the airport in Lagos, or I'm at the restaurant in Lekki, or, I'm at so and so place. And what was happening, they weren't doing well. People, they weren't seeing the kind of numbers that they needed to see. So they said, okay, maybe that's not the problem we should be looking at. Let's pull out and say, what's going on here? They're looking at the data, and what they're seeing is the check-ins that had pictures. Like if you check in and you put a picture beside the check-in, those were doing very well. People were responding to that. And so they reframed the problem and said, wait, maybe people don't want to check in. What they want to do is they want to post themselves in these places. They want to show themselves in these places. And they reframed the problem, and boom, that's how Instagram, became Instagram, right? So what you do is, what problem are we trying to solve? Then you reframe it. Is there a different way to see the problem? So if you're struggling with your problem now, you and your team should look outside the frame, pull back, rethink what you're doing, right? What are the things that are really doing well for us? Are we solving the right problems, right? Make sure that we're not looking at this from a perspective that doesn't help us, and then you move, right? So that's one way to look at things. So with entrepreneurship, right, from discovery to delivery, from the idea to you hitting the market, you're growing, your go-to-market is working, you want to make sure that you are very centered around the problem. And once you're centered around the problem, that's where you see that magic. When people say, oh my God, how did they figure this out? That's when you're focused on the problem. And yes, you can come in after 2 or 3 other companies that started addressing that problem. But if you attack it in a very different way, that's innovation. Okay? So when we do product strategy, we want to make sure that we're not answering the question, can we solve the problem? Because that's what many people are doing today. That's what many people are being funded against, is can we solve the problem? When the question we should be answering is, should we solve the problem? And that's what discovery does for you. And it allows you to adjust your product strategy as you start to say to yourself, okay, we think that we are in a position to either solve the problem or we are solving the wrong problem and we should move forward. Okay. So value creation, that's product strategy. User value, venture value, right? And when you solve user pains, when you provide relief for your users, you're creating user value, right? And once a user says, oh, I'm getting value from your product, that means that you've solved their problems. And so that's what product strategy to me looks like. And I'm going to stop here. We'll take some questions. I know, Victor, we are supposed to start around this time. But I want to end here by saying, when you think of your product strategy end to end, ultimately, the problem, that is the core variable. Yes, the customer, 100%, very important. The solution, how do you address a customer's problem if you don't have a solution? But you need to make sure that you understand that the problem is at the core. And when you have your product strategy that is very clear on what problems we're looking to solve, what problems we think we can solve, you're in good shape. All right. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And again, for me, that was actually, you did an awesome work. It was like we're rushing to do an MBA, not in an hour. You're trying to do a master class like in 20, 25 minutes.
25 minutes. You put pressure on me there.
And that was doing a massive dump. And for me, I was even taking notes. Okay, a part of me runs a venture studio while the other part runs an innovation hub, and so part of our venture studio, we've got some fun. So even for me, it's to make sure that the things that are being curated in the labs, what's the product vision? And I like how you laid it out. How do we start from a product vision that leads to the product strategy? And then when I started hearing the hypotheses and variables, I was like, this is a practicing scholar. Again, this is not usual conversation. This is a scholar talking about what my core variable is and what my hypothesis should be. And right. Thanks, that came out strong. And I think it was quite instructive. Again, I do say it was quite a lot you wanted to pack in 30 minutes, because this, again, is the heart of the issue we have in the ecosystem. And as an ecosystem leader, I can boldly tell you that too many people are iterating and ideating on stuffs that are not going to see the light of day. I think too many people are struggling with things that, in my opinion, are not addressing the core of the problem. Again, we also suffer with quite a lot of hustler mentality where we see people just want to get a buck, just get a buck. What's the next thing happening? And I like when you said everybody's we'll continue to look for the gold rush of the fintechs. But the problem, if you remember the story of the gold rush, who really made the money were not the guys. It was the guys that are selling the barrels and the pickles.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
The AWS, the guys that are hosting, all those infrastructure you are paying for, whether your product sees the light of day or not, they are the guys selling the wheelbarrows and the shovels and the pickles. They'll make the money because 90% of the guys who go for the gold rush don't get to see the gold, okay? And that's why it's instrumental when we're putting this together to make sure we improve the success rate for people who go out there to build startups, okay? And I think you've done a phenomenal work in trying to put that together. Again, this is not about me. Let's see, are there questions and how do we think we should respond to them? So there's someone saying, how detailed should a product roadmap be for a tech startup, and how often should it be updated? So this is a roadmap. Again, how does it sit in your conversation on the vision, strategy, market fit, where you have three variables and the core variable being the problem that you should fall in love with, not the solution? But here someone is asking a question, how detailed should my roadmap be? How often should I change them in a very dynamic environment? And of course, a more constrainer like ours. What do you think?
Yeah, so first things first, thank you for that, Victor. Look, here's the thing about roadmaps. First things first, do we even know whether we're talking about roadmaps or are we talking about feature backlogs, right? Because that usually is where people run into trouble, especially startups, and startups that are led by people who have really not done product the way some of us have. Because what happens is, if you're talking about a feature backlog, okay, these are the features that we're going to launch. We're going to do single sign-on. And then after single sign-on, we'll do,
transaction.
Yes, so all of that, that's not a roadmap, okay? That's a feature backlog. I don't want to talk about backlogs right now because we don't have enough time.
Mm.
And even roadmaps, the way they're supposed to be done, where it is supposed to identify the problems that you're going to solve now, the problems that you're going to solve next, and then the problems you'll solve later, right? Even that is risky for a startup because that has a way of almost diverting your attention. You have a way of pushing stuff away because, oh, it's on the roadmap, but we don't have to work on it now. So the way I like to advise startups is if you're a startup, you should literally be going through this continuous discovery phase where what you're doing is you're saying, we're getting feedback from the market. We see what's important. We prioritize what's important, what's urgent. Those are the two. Those are the two ingredients for what your prioritization angle should be, and then you move. I'm not saying roadmaps are very controversial. They're polarizing. Right? I've worked with roadmaps. There are organizations that I counsel right now that I tell them, I beg, you need a roadmap, right? Because they have senior executives that need to have a dashboard that tells them, oh yeah, these people are solving the problems that I've told them. But startups, I tell startups, I beg, leave roadmap alone, unless you've raised 100 million like Money Point. And then at some point you start to get to a place where, yeah, you have to start to account to your investors and to your senior managers senior leaders as to what is necessary. But for startups, just dig down. What is the most important thing I need to work on today? And keep working on it. Continuous discovery, continuous delivery. Continuous discovery. Your prototype becomes your MVP. Your MVP becomes your V1. Your V1 becomes V1.1, V1.2, V1.3. Marty Kagan, who is one of the best product people in the world, says you should be shipping at least 50 times a day. Can you imagine? 50 times a day. That means that your product should be updated 50,000 a day, 50 times a day. It sounds impossible, but it's not impossible. It's because you're doing continuous discovery. So sorry for the person who has a roadmap question. I didn't mean to throw your roadmap into the gutter. I'm just saying, focus. You have a product strategy. We know what problem we need to be solving. We know the customers we're solving it for. Our solution seems to be working. Let's keep iterating so that we can keep growing. That's my answer to that.
Chidi, I mean, I'm spot on. And I've taken something off the table now. So when I have a few of those founders in my lab tell me exciting things like, we won't deal with this, is in the roadmap. I know that it's feature backlog and that they're only trying to mess with me. Okay. So
yes. It's a feature backlog.
It's a feature backlog. Those are things that your product should ordinarily have. So it's mandatory. Your product is not your product without those features being there. The fact that there's a backlog and you're not iterating fast enough and you're not building those features fast enough, it does not mean it's a roadmap. The roadmap, like I said, just to re-echo, is there's a solution and you're constantly iterating to respond to that because of the journey of discovery. I think the hard part, and I don't know, maybe it's our environment, but I was speaking to a friend who says, because we think very short-sighted, we have a very strong hustler mentality. It has to be now. I think that's why we don't do this journey of discovery. People just don't want to discover. They just say, "What's Money Point doing? Can I put out POS?" But you brought out something very strong, which I think any smart founder should grasp with both hands, is that there must be a journey of discovery. Constantly building that is a journey of discovery. I mean, in my previous life where I worked in traditional business as a business strategist, it's talk about consumer insight and consumer understanding. You get first, and if you don't spend enough time with the consumer the last time, you don't get an understanding. Then the understanding now comes an insight, and that's insight leads to a product, another product solution. So again, that's the journey of discovery, and I'm excited that I bring it out. And I do hope founders are getting some good knowledge from this. Where am I? No, for a tech startup with limited resources, all startups have limited resources, guys. Okay, until you raise $110 million for your Series C. All startups have limited resources. So I keep telling people, let's not throw that up anymore. What's the most cost-effective way to validate if our product idea meets market demand? I think you've answered that, but again,
it's discovery. Listen, Victor, you know the thing about discovery. Discovery doesn't cost money
at all. Just go sit.
It doesn't cost money. Discovery today is there was a time when you wanted to start a company, you're taking $100,000 just to even register your company. Now there's so many platforms You go to ChatGPT, say, write a code for me for a prototype that would allow me to do so, so, and so. ChatGPT will do it for you immediately. But I didn't have that when I was starting my company. There's so much you can host in the cloud. So when people tell me that you're resource limited, no, you're resource limited maybe to hire what you call superstar engineers or to hire superstar product managers. I get that. But in order to validate your product, no. This stuff is cheap, right? It is very easy for you to say, okay, so let me give you an example. Oh, you know what? I think that insurance in Nigeria, I would like to get more people to use health insurance. For instance, health insurance for people who make below $20,000 a year, right? Which is most people, unfortunately, in our country. All right. What do? Okay, first things first is to find out if this is really a problem. Do they want insurance? Right? Please. You don't even have to spend money to do that. All you have to do is just talk to people. Do some customer interviews, follow some people, do this, do that. You have information. Okay. Now, if you find out that this is a problem, then you now say to yourself, what is the best way for me to show people or show that there's demand for this? Maybe you build just a landing page that says, oh, here's a solution for people who are resource limited to do health insurance. If you're interested, press more information. How many people press more information? If you have so many people pressing more information, that tells you right there there's interest. You've validated that there's a problem. You validated that there's people who want this solution. Now you start. See what I'm saying? You haven't spent too much money. So the way I respond to this question is, I beg, do not find yourself in a position where you're thinking that I need to spend money in order to validate whether there's a problem. Oh, there's so many ways. Written. Again, go to ChatGPT, say, how do I validate that this problem? And ChatGPT will tell you, right? So I think my response to that is you have resources now. You're not resource strapped. You have resources that are available to you. And most of them are free, right? To do surveys, to do interviews, to build a web page, to register a domain. I mean, all this stuff is cheap, so I think that I'm not trying to make it sound like it's easy. I'm saying it's simple, right? It's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple.
Yeah, I agree with you that it's simple. And I also say that it's slightly cheap. Okay. We don't want to do the work as startups. We're too used to this celebrity lifestyle in this part of the world, because and we don't do the hard work. You said something about health insurance, and I do have a health insurance in my portfolio. And I do remember one of the times when we were checking about, the demand was just go onto the internet and search and see using keywords how many people are even searching for health insurance. That's where you start from. I mean, we're now working with digital natives and just search. When we checked and found out that people are not even searching for health insurance, that it's not even on the searching. There's the number of people searching for it are totally incognito. You come to understand that this might not be where people take a lot of resources, and then you now start asking the question, so what are people searching for? What are their areas of interest? Again, it's about doing the work. And I just want to lend my voice to what Chidi said, to say, look, founders who want to survive, founders who want to, build in this kind of context and environment, don't look at raising that big money now because of the liability. Many people, and again, many of these guys giving you funds, you're going to give you an FX, your FX has lost value by about how many percent in the last, being able to deliver that value back becomes an issue, and you have credibility issues. So my feedback is, one thing that's synonymous with startups is bootstrapping. The old, wonderful, lovely bootstrapping, what has happened to it that everybody is now raising a pre-seed, pre-seed, seed. It's money doesn't replace we doing the hard stuff and doing the hard thing. And so I lend my voice to Chidi to say, look, I don't think money is the issue. I think ability to know how to dimension our problem, scope your problem, and how to solve that is what is missing. So it's more a knowledge problem, an expertise problem, a hand-holding problem, a mentorship problem that we do have in the ecosystem and this part of the world. I dare to say it's not a money problem. When we start building like they're building Bangladesh and India and all that, the money will flow in because talents will be cheap. But I do not think we're doing that. And just to align with you on that.
Yeah, let me give you one very quick example before we leave. Here in Atlanta, there's a young man. He is still young. His name is Tope Awotina.
Yeah.
And I remember when Techbiz was getting started, we were in the same incubator, hub, tech hub. And he was sitting beside us, and he said, "Listen, I'm looking to solve this issue of scheduling, and just trying to get people to schedule their time." And we're looking at him like, okay, and he did it all by himself. Brought the team, didn't raise any money. He used his money, and he kept working and working. The guy today, you can't talk to him. The founder of Calendly.
Yeah,
That was
Calendly. Yeah. All of us are using it all over the
Right?
world.
And
Wow.
when Techbiz did that, he did that with the discovery was very deliberate. It was, the timing was very impeccable because it wasn't like he was rushing. He wasn't trying to rush anywhere. He was taking his time. His boom, his that, his this. Do you know that company was revenue happy very quickly, and revenue happy when he could hire one person and barely did not raise any money to hire these people. He hired these people based off of revenue. And when he eventually did raise money, it was not raising money because he needed it. It was raising money so people could cash out. All those people that came and worked with him in the beginning, they were cashing out. They're all multi-millionaires now. He's a billionaire because he built that company from scratch. I'm not saying that in Nigeria or in Africa, that's the same thing. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is there is value in understanding how to bootstrap and not get too excited about, okay, how do I raise money? There's always this, Oga Chidi, I need to raise money. If you can give me some money, if I raise money. I'm just like, that's not what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear about the problem. I wanted to hear this. I wanted to hear that, but not necessarily that you want to raise money. So off my sandbox there.
Thanks, Chidi. Spot on. I mean, the time is up, okay? And I do love to always respect the time of our people, but I want you to give me a parting word, okay? Nigeria is not a big, in my opinion, a big tech market yet. We're still scratching the surface. And so when we do webinars and seminars like these, and we try to equip people, we do see non-tech people come into the room. As far as SMEs. So startups are using technology to scale. SMEs are doing the traditional way. And I do have one in the house who says, how do non-tech companies adopt a tech product? Where should we start? For example, I think she runs a coffee company, and she's I want to be the next Starbucks or something, but I keep hearing you guys becoming unicorn and $1 billion valuation. I feel left out, and the fear of missing out is catching up. Your parting shirts. We have a lot of businesses, thousands of them, birthed every day in Africa, who are not startups, who do not understand the word of code, do not know how to amplify with tech, but they also want to scale. They want to, be able to change the world and solve a problem. What will be your parting word to these people that Princess Adeyinka represents, that community?
Princess, that's a wonderful question. If I coach and work with many organizations that are not what you call a tech company, right? But one of the things that you cannot be today, you cannot be a company that's not tech enabled, right? So it's like you have to have tech underneath you. So what does that mean? Look, if you have your web presence, your app presence, or social media presence, you've already started the journey towards tech enabled. But then, for instance, you say you're a coffee company. I don't know if you're a coffee distribution or if you're a coffee, if you're a coffee store or whatever that looks like. Think about how you use tech to do deliveries, or how do you use tech to build your supply chain, right? How do you use tech to enable your customer interactions, right? So tech is there. There's no such thing as, I'm a non-tech. That's not true. There's no such thing as I'm a company that is not impacted by tech. You are tech enabled, and you have to find the right stacks that will jet fuel you to success, right? So a coffee company, as I said, if I'm starting a coffee company, one of the first things I'm thinking about is, if I am going to be a coffee shop or a series of coffee shops, I'm thinking to myself, how do I get coffee to me as soon as possible? And how do I make sure that my customers have an experience with me that is tech enabled? Can I give you a really interesting example? Does anybody understand that Starbucks right now is a bank? Do people understand that? Starbucks is a bank. So there's an app that they put on your phone where, in order for you to really buy stuff from them, you have to put money into their app. So you can go there, go to the window, just use the phone and buy your stuff without thinking about it. Let me tell you, nobody will think of Starbucks as if it's a bank, but it's a bank.
No, it's
yeah.
The treasury play. You
Right.
fund your wallet and then they keep it there.
Yeah. So they have a wallet that is funded and you use that to do what you need to do. So, Princess, what I would say is this is a great question. You should ask, instead of asking how do you adopt a tech, how do you adopt a tech product? No. What I'll say is how do you become a tech-enabled coffee company? Right? And when you have these kind of conversations, you'll be so excited because there's so many options for you. I'm actually looking forward to the way you think about this, because once you have that, all of a sudden, Princess, you're cooking with palm oil, like pure unadulterated palm oil, not all this processed stuff that they're doing out there. Because I'm telling you, when you become tech-enabled, it allows you to now leapfrog and jumpstart in all kinds of ways. So yes, you can find the platforms and tech stacks for you to adopt.
Thank you, Chidi. I mean, it's a masterclass, but how can we do justice in 40 minutes? Absolutely not. But again, it's to say thank you for being a part of this. Like I said, we're streaming across all platforms, and it's great to see the reactions we're getting across all the platforms, and so a big thank you to you. And I'm sure we're definitely going to have you back. And the beauty of it is, this is how we will ultimately build the future of Africa and build the solutions that will solve Africa's problem and leapfrog Africa to where it ought to be in the community of nations. And thank you. And just for everyone who is on
thank you.
It's just for you to know that this recording, as well as the 113 previous episodes of this recording, are available on our website, and this will be available from 12 noon tomorrow when it's edited and it's up there. Please do feel free to play it back again. I will, because I did learn a whole lot of stuff. These 30-45 minutes will not do justice to you to learn, to iterate, and be able to know that there's a difference between you having feature backlog and calling it a roadmap. Trust me, you need to digest again to get that. And so please make sure you go check 114 different speakers, subject matter experts. Is something, it's a collections library that you need to make sure you have. And should you have questions, we couldn't take all of them. I saw a couple more being sent to me that I couldn't take. Drop them in the Techbiz Nation. There's a link that takes you in there on WhatsApp, on Telegram, any of our communities. Drop your questions. We will answer you on the spot. Tag us in there, and we will continue to provide the right support that we need. I need to go. But before I go, there's a flagship program that we do as champions of public sector innovation, the Art of Technology Lagos, where we argue that it's arguably the biggest tech conference in Nigeria, will bring policymakers. So this is deliberate. It's about policymakers and ecosystem players, because what we found out is that policy always lag innovation. And every time you do not allow policy to be in sync with innovation, it frustrates innovation. We've seen what has happened around blockchain and all that. So we want to make sure that we have policymakers on one side, ecosystem leaders, and there's a conversation to build a roadmap for the ecosystem. AOT 6.0, the 6th edition of these is up, and my colleagues are dropping the registration link. Be a part of it. Seats are getting filled quickly. We have global speakers from everywhere. We have people, about a couple of people, as we spoke about how AI helps us to build a digital economy for Lagos and build a much smarter city using AI. Again, we will not be focused on the solution, which Chidi has said, is to see what is the problem and how does AI allow us to solve these problems in a more efficient and effective manner. Be a part of Art of Technology Lagos 6.0, and it promises to be an explosive session. Make sure you register, participate, to want to speak, you want to attend, you want to be a sponsor, you want to exhibit your products. Make sure you do register on the link, and it's on the 5th and 6th of December 2004. So we've got barely about a month when final stages. Make sure you're a part of this. I need to let you go. Thank you for keeping a date with Techbiz. Comes from the stable of Eco Innovation Center. Again, we're committed to helping provide the hand-holding and the support that allows in the ecosystem to scale and commercialize. That's the only way we can begin to see their impact in this space. There's a proliferation of startups, but we see that the lifestyle of the people and I mean, all the indices are not pointing in the right direction, which means we need to relook the startup model. Are they having impact? And that's what this is about, is to make sure that as a plethora of startups, we begin to see them have poverty moderating effects, lowering poverty, they're improving people's lifestyle, they're changing people's life, and that's what we are committed to. So again, this is coming from the Stable of Eco Innovation Center, and just this one of the expressions that we use to address that problem and fulfill that mission. And again, I remain your host, Victor Gbenga Folabi, the founder of Eco Innovation Center. So thank you very much for spending time with us. And I do look forward to hosting you on the last Thursday of November for the 115th episode of Techbiz, where we will have another subject matter expert who will be speaking from their wealth of knowledge to help us on the journey of building an ecosystem that works for all. Thank you very much, everyone, and do have a great evening. Chidi, it was an honor having you on the platform, and do enjoy the rest of the evening, and regards to your family. Bye, everyone.